So here we are, day 5 of the 5-day fasting challenge. I want to congratulate everyone who took the plunge, jumped right in, and got started with their prolonged fasting. That's really what this 5-day fasting challenge is all about, folks. It's about preparing you for the next step, and I'll talk about that in another video. Now, this 5-day fasting challenge started with your very first nomad. That means on Monday night, you guys went to bed without eating any food. Followed up by a small break fast on Tuesday. So we go nomad to OMAD. No meal on Monday, 1 meal on Tuesday, and then many of you chose to skip that meal and push it off until Friday. But then others of you got started on the next 2 nomads. Nomad Wednesday, Nomad Thursday, Friday, OMAD. So if you broke fast earlier in the week, congratulations on doing that first nomad, and now you have gone 2 days and you're on your 3rd day here without eating. It's amazing when you break that fear and you see you can do it. Really, what this is about is encouraging you and inspiring you, showing you your strength and allowing you to try something you've never tried before. And now we're at the end of this. And before we go on and talk about how to integrate fasting into your lifestyle, take your fasting to the next level, what I really want to emphasize is the importance of how you break your fast. So you'll see here, I've got some tips for breaking your fast. Some of you decided to fast the entire 5 days. This is super critical for you. Some of you guys decided to take that OMAD, that 1 meal a day on Tuesday, and then the past 2 days, you did 2 nomads. So that's really, you keep pushing it. It keeps getting longer and longer. And the longer your fast, the more mindful you need to be during your break fast. So I've got some tips here that I'd like to share with you. I'm gonna dive right in. Tips for breaking your fast. So the very first tip here is to drink lemon water. This is a tip I learned from Simland. What you wanna do is stimulate the digestive juices a little bit. So by drinking some lemon water, you get like stomach acid. It starts to prepare your stomach. The barren, blank stomach, clean slate that hasn't received any sustenance in many days, now gets stimulated with a little bit of lemon water. So you can go ahead and drink a glass of purified water with some lemon squeezed in it. And that's the way to start getting in the groove of food. Number 2, just a tip for when you do break your fast, chew slowly, don't gorge. Oh, I gotta harp in on this one a little bit. So when I began the process of prolonged fasting, of course, like many of you, I get to the end of my fast and I'm ravenous. And I've discovered that, of course, the type of hunger that what typically happens, or what has happened with me, is I break the seal and then I don't want to stop. So, it's time to break the fast. I had that first little meal. I'll talk a little bit about some of my favorite meals, that first little meal, and then all of a sudden it's like the floodgates have opened and I just want to like a fire hose of food in my belly. And I did that the first 1 and maybe 2 times because I started to experience some pain. Wasn't a good idea. I knew it wasn't a good idea, but it was uncontrollable, emotional, and I just wanted to eat. And so I've learned the hard way, and that's why I'm offering you this advice. It is in your best interest, no matter how much you want to, start gorging, especially on junk food, right? I mean, my assumption is that we're living a healthy lifestyle here and that we're not going to Burger King, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, all that kind of shit. My assumption is that we're eating whole foods and we're eating mostly things that we prepared at home, right? So I don't think I need to have that conversation with you. But anyway, the point is, even if it is healthy food, like I would just eat a whole bag of freaking nuts, quote unquote healthy. Paul Saladino tells me you shouldn't be eating those, shouldn't be eating vegetables at all. But it depends on who you ask. That's why I don't know nothing. Anyway, so yeah, I'd eat a whole bag of nuts, and I know they have anti-nutrients and phytic acid. And one of the things that I'll make another video about this is the way Colleen prepares nuts so that they're easily digestible. But either way, I was gorging, and I advise you not to do so. Also, chew slowly. When I broke that first 10-day fast, my first 10-day fast, or even before that when I was doing like 5 days and stuff, and with the experience of gorging and hating myself for doing so, I began to take a zen, a mindful, appreciative, sensational approach to that first meal by really slowing down my chewing. I'm a fast chewer. Sometimes I don't even swallow. It's just my nature. But if I'm mindful, it isn't my unconscious nature. So I began taking my time and, like a wine or cigar connoisseur, indulging in all the nuances and intricacies of what I'm tasting, And one of the things I like to break my fast with, right, is liver. Liverwurst. I love liverwurst. And I would taste the organ. You know how it's got that almost like that iron taste to it? Taste it. Appreciate it. And all the while, I'm chewing this liverwurst, I'm thinking about my gratitude for the animal that gave its life to nourish my body. I gotta be honest, it's not a typical approach for me. That's why I have to be steadfast and disciplined with my meditation and prayers and mindfulness and things like this. These things don't come naturally to me. So fasting has increased my sensitivity in that regard, and has brought up the sentiment of appreciation every time I'm eating that first meal. So chew slowly, taste it, baby. And then start small. So here's a strategy for eating. Of course, you started with your lemon water. Sim also says that, it's a little bit of apple cider vinegar is a good idea. It depends on what you want, but you got that first little drink. And then we're gonna have that small meal first, where you're gonna chew slow and don't gorge. And I think it would be a good idea for you to portion out that meal first and then stick with it. Because if I don't portion it out, then it just becomes a refrigerator aid. So portion out what you're about to eat, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And then give yourself an hour before the big meal. There's a lot of good reasons why you want to do that. If you haven't eaten like for 5 days straight, and you put that food in your stomach, you want to make sure that everything's cool, everything feels all right, it's digesting easily, properly, and then you can proceed. So, starting small. So this very first meal, I sort of take a hybrid approach, because I'm a big fan of Arnold Ehret and his rational fasting. I don't love his idea on fruitarianism, and we should all become fruitarianism. So I take some of what he has to offer and I blend it with what I've learned from the more contemporary experts on fasting, like Dr. Fung and of course Sim. I talked about him, and some of the other guys Cole Robinson. Cole, I haven't read or watched too much of Cole's stuff in terms of breaking a fast, but of course Dr. Fung talks about high fat, high protein, or moderate protein, low carb meals. So the way to combine the two, especially with this first meal, is Dr. Arnold Ehret. I keep calling him doctor, but he wasn't even a doctor. Professor Arnold Ehret. Suggest that we break our fast with food that's going to stimulate a bowel movement, because now what we want to have happen, especially if you hadn't been doing enemas and stuff throughout your fast, like I did 2 enemas. You got a whole lot of stuff in there that's kind of putrefying and hanging out in there, that because the peristalsis had slowed down because you weren't eating, a lot of times the food just sits there. And it's been sitting there for a few days in your colon. And that may be part of the reason why you feel like shit. That's why I suggest, like I said, enemas, salt flushes, and also I'll make a whole video about that another time. But we want to get the bowels moving again. We want to get them moving again. So starting with a salad with some salad with some oils and protein. And so my favorite is salad and sardines. Sardines are high in, of course, omega-3 fatty acids and the the essential fatty acids that are typically found in fish. You can find in sardines, plus a little bit of protein and the salad. So it gets the bowel stimulated. He also recommends things like prunes, stewed prunes and stuff like that. You can do that. I haven't. It's not a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. But all with the intention of getting the bowels stimulating. Okay, so some other suggestions for that first small meal, first little break fast is some eggs. I want to eat a little bit of eggs. We're warning to keep the glycemic index low. So if you're gonna have like fruit, I'd say have like a green apple and some berries. Green apples and berries are my fruits of choice because they're low glycemic. And you might want a little bit of fruit. You might be feeling dry in the mouth, so you want that crispy, juicy, sweet fruit. You could do that also too. So really the whole point is to eat a little something, low glycemic, that gets the bowel stimulated. And then you want your big meal 1 hour later. And one of the things that Arnold Ehret talks about in rational fasting is to eat until you poop. Just keep eating. So as far as what to eat, like I say, I lean towards Simland's advice and Dr. Fung's advice on keeping it low sugar, low carb, higher fat, high protein. So you want to get some of that in there. Sometimes I'll have a steak and eggs, salad and sardines, and then steak and eggs. That's like one of my go-tos. I love that. Salad, sardines, steak and eggs. But then you want to keep eating. And his suggestion is to avoid this idea that you should creep back into eating over the course of several days, just taking little pieces, right? Because there is that advice, which is, I don't know which one is right or wrong, but I subscribe to and have experienced and appreciate the advice of Ehret, which is now it's time to gorge. That first meal, it's okay. Like I said, you just want to stimulate. That second meal, you want to eat until you poop. When you poop, now you know things are starting to move again, and that's really what we if you start eating and you stay constipated, you're not going to be happy, you're not going to be comfortable, and you're going to get bloated. So the whole idea here is it's a big meal. Let it be a big freaking meal, man. This is not a time to watch your calories. Not a time to eat junk food either. There's another word on junk food: cookies, candies, cakes, ice cream, all that kind of shit. We don't eat that. There's no place for that in here. That doesn't mean that you can't, but I don't make the assumption that you're going to be eating junk food, right? Like I said before, fast food, junk food, anything like that. We want to eat healthy foods. I know those IIFYM guys out there who are like, no, you can eat donuts and cookies and Coke. I'm not a fan of that. You can do that if you want. Number 5, keep it keto, baby. Like I said, look, if you fasted for 5 days, or if you just took the 5-day fasting challenge and took a break in between, like I suggested, there's a good chance that you've already achieved ketosis. It usually takes about 72 hours. So right now, like if you broke fast on Tuesday, right around this time, maybe around this time you're watching this video, you're actually now starting to creep into ketosis. As opposed to someone who started a ketogenic diet 10 days ago, then they get into ketosis. Because you fasted and you kept the carbs low with your little break fast, there is a high indication, a good indication, that you have clicked over into using ketones, fat for energy. And also there's a good chance that autophagy is stimulated, and so your body is really going through this deep regenerative process. And we want to kind of keep it going the best that we can. Now, whenever we eat any food, autophagy is pretty much stopped. Or not any food, but most foods, autophagy is stopped. But ketosis can keep going. And if you're here because you want to experience the myriad of benefits that are associated with a ketogenic diet, That includes fat loss. A lot of people go into ketogenic diets because, well, I've heard people, or I know people personally who have healed and managed their cancer with a ketogenic diet. You know, so it could be anything from needing to lose fat to healing yourself from cancer. You know, and I advise you to do your own research on those kinds of ideas. But ketosis is it's a powerful state, powerful physiological state, and we might want to stay there for a little while. I'll talk later about how I'm rolling this fasting period into my strongman training, and how I will strategically keto these next few weeks. So keep it keto, friends. We don't want to spike that insulin and start all over again. Limit water. Now, you've been drinking lots of water. You've been drinking lots of snake juice. You've been drinking black coffee. You've been drinking. Now that it's time to break that fast, we want stomach capacity. We want to be able to put food in the stomach. We don't want to waste space with water. You're not going to dehydrate, especially if you've been drinking this whole time. You're not going to dehydrate, but you can definitely dilute, and we don't want to do that. So we want to have your water maybe an hour after you eat or something. Make sure you've been drinking water up to the time you eat. But now that it's time to feast, keep the water to a limit. And then finally, I would love to get your feedback, and I would love to see your results, and I would love to know how you did or how you intend to do on this 5-day fasting challenge. If you got before and after pictures, you had a mystical experience, whatever you have that you want to share with me, I'd love to receive. And so I put an email address here where you can send me anything result related. You know, I really want to hear from you guys who have actually stepped in and did this. If you got questions about 5-day fasting challenge, I'm not going to answer it for you. You know why? Because I made going on 7 videos about this right now. And if you click the link now below, it'll take you to a page where you can register, and I'll send you a free copy of my 5-day fasting challenge PDF ebook. So all your questions can be answered there. And of course, every once in a while, I'll go through the Q&A down at the bottom, answer questions. And of course, finally, I do my live stream workouts where I answer super chats. So, there's always that there for you. But here, Elliott at strengthcamp.com. That's Elliott with 2 L's and 2 T's, y'all. ELLIOTT. At strengthcamp.com. Send me your pictures, send me your testimonials, send me your love. Because I love you. I love engaging with you in these types of projects. Got so much more, so many cool things on the way. And I'll see you then. Have a great day. Done.